Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2, and I do thank you for tuning in, and certainly peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into the great African American women. Right now, we are on Nannie, Helen Burroughs, leader of the Women's Convention during the year of 1879 to 1961. And it goes like this. At the age of only 21, Nannie Helen Burroughs became a national leader when her powerful speech, "How the Sisters Are Hindered from Helping," sparked the formation of the Women's Convention auxiliary to the National Baptist Convention in Richmond, Virginia in the 1900s. As leader of the Women's Convention, the largest black women's organization in America, she campaigned women's rights and racial equality for over 6 decades. Nannie Helen Burroughs was born in Orange, Virginia on May the 2nd, 1879, to John and Jenny Poindexter Burroughs. While her father worked as an itinerant preacher, her mother took Nannie and her sister, who died in childhood, to Washington, D.C., developing her talents. Nannie Helen Burroughs attended public schools in the District of Columbia and developed her budding oratorial talents in a literary society of her high school and in church programs at the 19th Street Baptist Church. When her high school domestic science teacher failed to keep her promise to arrange for Burroughs to become her assistant, Burroughs vowed to herself to do everything she could in the future to open doors of opportunity to other black women, especially those from humble backgrounds. Moving to Philadelphia, she found a clerical job and also did part-time work for the Reverend Louis G. Jordan, pastor of the Union Baptist Church. When Jordan moved to Louisville, Kentucky, Burroughs went with him. In Louisville, she organized a women's industrial club which offered evening classes in such vocational skills as sewing, typing, cooking, and bookkeeping. Women's Convention. In 1900, Burroughs traveled from Louisville to Richmond, Virginia, where the National Baptist Convention was being held. There, voicing the long-standing discontent of black women at not having a larger role within the church, she gave her historical speech, "How the Sisters Are Hindered from Helping," which soon led to the birth of the Women's Convention, the WC. Burroughs was elected the WC secretary. No, she was elected the WC corresponding secretary. And in her first year in office, she delivered 215 speeches and organized 12 societies for the WC. By 1903, she had built up the group's contingency base to nearly 1 million. And by 1907, it had reached 1.5 million. In 1908, she initiated the annual National Women's Day, a fundraising celebration in local churches. Burroughs, who never married, devoted herself wholeheartedly to the WC Every year, she was reelected to her position as corresponding secretary till 1948, where she was voted president, a title she held for the rest of her life. In her leadership role with the WC, she spoke out for the right of women to vote and to have equal economic opportunity. Her stand on racial equality included her denunciations of lynching, segregation, and employment discrimination. Without stint, I have given my entire life to the Women's Convention, she wrote in a preamble to her will, and have proudly built it and watched it grow from humblest beginnings to world service and security. Active Republican. Loyal to the Republican Party as a party of Abraham Lincoln, Burroughs helped to found the National League of Republican Colored Women in 1924 and was elected the League's president, in which capacity she campaigned for the Republican candidates during the presidential races of the 1920s. In 1928, President Hoover appointed her to chair a fact-finding commission on housing, which under her leadership published a study called Negro Housing. Report of the Committee on Negro Housing in 1932. While the majority of black voters shifted to the Democratic Party, especially under President Franklin D. Roosevelt in the 1930s, Burroughs continued to support the Republicans. Consequently, her political influence weakened, but her popularity in the black community remained intact because of her leadership roles in other organizations, such as the Baptist groups, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, and the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, National Training School. One of her most important achievements was the founding of the National Training School for Women and Girls in 1909, of which Burroughs was president. Associated with the WC, the school taught students at the high school and junior college levels and offered missionary training as well as vocational studies, preparing women for a wide range of jobs. Although some students pursued traditional female domestic work, such as cooks, maids, nurses, housekeeping, dressmakers, and laundresses, others opted for business jobs as clerks, bookkeepers, and stenographers. The school even prepared black women to become printers, barbers, and shoe repairers. Burroughs called her institution the School of 3 B's because of her emphasis on the Bible, bath, and broom. Symbolic of all labor. The school's first motto was work. Support thyself. To thine own powers appeal. Let me repeat that one more time. Work. Support thyself. To thine own powers appeal. It was later replaced by we specialize in the wholly impossible. In 1964, the school was renamed the Nannie Helen Burroughs School, which became an elementary school, cultivating black pride. Burroughs had a tremendous impact on her time because of her emphasis on black pride. If in our homes she proclaimed to her WC members in 1905, there is implanted in the hearts of our children, of our young men, and of our young women the thought they are what they are, not by environment, but of themselves. This effort to teach a lesson of inferiority will be fertile. Burroughs did not hesitate to call for militant action in the pursuit of equal justice. In 1933, she told an audience of young black people that they should be willing to die for their rights. In 1934, she was quoted as saying that black Americans must use ballots and dollars to fight racism rather than wasting time begging the white race for mercy. She firmly supported the NAACP advocacy of boycotts, petitions, and other forms of protest. Nannie Helen Burroughs devoted her last years to her role as president of the WC, 1948 to 1961. She died in Washington, D.C. on May 20th, 1961. No other person in America has so large a hold on the loyalty and esteem of the colored masses as Nannie H. Burroughs. Wrote William Pickens, a pioneer of the NAACP administrator before her death. She is regarded all over the broad land as a combination of brains, courage, and incorruptibility. Now, that does complete Nannie Helen Burroughs from 1879 to 1961. And with that, I'm going to let you know the preview of our next great African American woman. Eunice Hunton Carter, New York's first black woman district attorney. So stay tuned for her. That's 1899 to 1970. I want you and your family to be blessed. Have a wonderful rest of this evening. I want you to be well, take care, and if be it thy will, I'll talk with you soon. Here on Poem Praise 2. And later, y'all.